Good morning, park managers. Today I'm on Jurassic World Evolution and I'm going to be building a shelter for my dinosaurs. Now, one of my most popular videos on YouTube is what I labelled how to build a shelter, and basically I make a dinosaur shelter. In Jurassic World Evolution there is no shelters for your dinosaurs, they just sort of sit there and get rained on whilst you look at your humans with the umbrellas walk past them, wondering why can I not have that. Now, you can sort of make a low-key kind of like shelter for them, which is sort of like natural in a sense. And yeah, that's what I'm going to do. So we're going to start off first with just placing our enclosure down. And I'm just going to do the simple sort of like squarish enclosure. Just to make it pretty simple, I'll do a 4x4. So I'm not like messing around doing curves and making it look all pretty, because really I'm going to just show you how it is sort of possible to make a shelter, and a shelter that they kind of use. You got to use your imagination for this. It's not a case of it's good an actual thing in the game. Obviously they just sit there and get rained on and have like very little care in the world. But in this case we're going to try and make this shelter, and it also keeps them slightly off view. So we've got a little box there, we've got a gate into there, and towards the back I'm actually going to bring the ground down a little bit. Oh, maybe not that much though. So we're going to bring it down a bit so they just sort of dip in, and then just to make it so it looks like there's an entrance to this, we're going to smooth out the ground, making like a ramp. Now if you want them to use this ramp, which I will want them to use, we're going to do we'll use temperate rocks. We'll make this kind of easy. We're in jungle, so it's quite nice like scenery and shrubbery, so we can sort of hide these rocks pretty well. Now if you're in desert it might be a little bit more difficult, so I know the shrubbery is pretty sparse, but obviously you can place tons of trees down yourself. And the main tree I'll be using for this will be a tropical tree which has decent cover. Now I've made this hole pretty bigger than what I would sort of pick, but we did it anyways. We're there, we're going with it, we're settled on this. So the idea behind it is you're going to put a food source in here. So if it's a herbivore, you're going to put the plants it's going to eat in there, and they will, or if it's a meat eater, you put the like meat source in there. If it's going to be eating the fish and things like this, it might be a bit difficult because it might spend the majority of its time in there, because obviously you're going to have water in there. Now the idea is to try and drag the animal back and forth, is so your guests can see them easier. You're going to want a water source at the front. So then obviously the food source is in here, the water source, I'm going to stop making this look pretty because I'm going to spend way too much time just faffing around with rocks, which I don't really want to be doing because I'm not showing off like artwork with rocks in this. I'm getting a little bit tongue twisted here for some reason. I mean, it's just one of those days, I think. I've been talking very weird all day. So yeah, we're going to have it so it's like this, so then the dinosaurs are forced to sort of use the ramp rather than just drag the way through the bushes. So if you're on tropical, nice and easy, we're going to be using, if we get this rock right, there we go. We'll be using the first forest, because this is obviously really thick, like that, and go all the way around. Sort of hide the rocks a bit more if you want, make it sort of like narrow. So obviously it's still pretty open here, and we are going to put a carnivore in ours, so we're going to put a meat like so, and it's just sort of, it's hidden. That's the idea. It's like this hidden shelter. Like I said, they don't actually have any shelters in game, so obviously I made this pretty thick, pretty open and wide. You just go around these trees like this because they disperse like a lot of open top cover. Obviously when you're in there you're going to be able to dip in and actually see them because it's not the brush, but this should provide them with tons of cover. And yes, you can use the brush, but the problem with the brush is, like, if I go into camera mode, you get sort of like this barrier where you're stuck. So if you want these photos, you can, I don't know what's going on here, but my camera's automatically panning for me. I wish it did this all the time. Like one second, let's try again. There we go. We're not automatically panning, but you see, you can get in here now. You can take any like screenshots that you want, or watch them just eat food, and yeah, it's just sort of completely covered and sheltered from the elements, which is like, this is, like I said, it's a pinch of salt. You need a little bit of imagination for this, but this here is a shelter in terms, like, yes, you can use a brush, but like I said, you can't get in there and take any screenshots. There's this sort of barrier that won't let you through, whereas this sort of method, it blends in and you can get in. You can obviously add more plants if you wish to make it less like as open as this, and you can decorate it a bit more, which let's go and do that. Let's add a bit more decoration to it. So leafy climbers sort of fits in that tropical vibe, so we'll just fill it up with a bit like that. And then what we want, I'm just going to add that, so it's got some nice longer looking grass. We'll just gently place that down. Obviously our dinosaur's going to be trampling through this area a fair bit, so we'll get to the entrance if we find it, and we're going to use just a dirt brush just to make it look like it is heavily trampled in this area. And that's where it lies down. So in a sense, this is like a shelter, and you can add more rocks just to add that sort of like decorative kind of look. Add some more things to your photos. Obviously it's going to keep bouncing you up and down like this, which it can be annoying, but if you're not, I'm not fussed by things like this. It's just something that happens, doesn't bother me that much. So you can just add a few more rocks, make it kind of look interesting, add some more sort of ground to it, so when you're getting your screenshots in, there's more things going on in the background. Obviously I'm only doing this rough, I'm not spending much time. Like, well, I think so far we're on 7 minutes or something like this of just slightly, even with me just messing around, showing off different things. I try and make these enclosures really easy, and like I said, we want water at the front. Obviously again, I'm making this rough because that water source will attract them to, so obviously they go back there, they go over in there to go and eat the food, and then they come back out here and they go and get a drink, and it's a back and forth sort of thing, which then basically lets them, like, they move around the paddock better, they move around, customers get to see them, you get to see them out in the open, and it's just something interesting in the enclosure. Now what I'll do is I'll try and make this look prettier after I've just explained it, and I'll do that in like a speed build for you, and then you have a rough idea of what a nice looking enclosure can look like with one of these shelters in. And yeah, I hope you enjoy the rest of the video, and I'll see you at the end. So with this one, I'm going to do it a little bit different. Instead of dipping it into the ground, I'm going to raise it up and make kind of like a dry land cove. As well, we're going to decorate it with rocks. Obviously, this is going to be the main way of making sure it uses the entrance rather than just walks over the hill. And I'll add kind of an interesting feature. Obviously, this one is quite large, so it's going to look kind of slightly strange in this very small square box. But again, I only do the square boxes to sort of demonstrate what to make inside of the enclosure. Obviously, you can make the enclosure shape whatever you would like it to be. Obviously, something as big as this would look a lot better being in the sort of like back corner of the enclosure, whatever you make it. It also makes like a very interesting feature, lets the dinosaurs sort of like hide away from the guests, and when you come to view it, gives you that kind of like Jurassic Park feel where you're like looking through the fence like, where is it? And as you can see right now, I'm just adding the final touches, adding like loads of dirt paths, things like this, makes it look like the dinosaurs have treaded it down a bit. And here we have is our Giganotosaurus or Gigantosaurus, whichever way you'd like to say it. I added this to the enclosure, especially the sort of more scientific looking version that Frontier had made, because I really do love this skin. And don't get me wrong, I love the movie monster skin, like it's absolutely epic, but still, this is a great looking skin, and it fits in quite well in this sort of like hidden kind of shelter that we've made. As you can see what I mean by putting food in the center there, they actually go in there and use it, and it's just, it looks really nice, makes for some interesting cinematic shots, things like this, and a kind of a really cool feature within your enclosures themselves. Anyway, thank you for watching. I hope this gives you some inspiration with your builds. In the comments, let me know, is this something you would use? And until next time, I'll see you later.